Hi everyone, I'm back today to do my 10 crafty questions. I've noticed these are floating around YouTube and I have been nominated by Tina from Hummingbird Tales and Andrew from Artymaze, so I thought I'll just share my 10 crafty questions with you. First, question number 1, my name. Well, that's pretty simple. It's Karen O'Reilly. Number 2, name of my shop. My Etsy shop is actually called Bohemian Rhapsody GB. That name came about because when I first discovered journals and started making them, my plan was to make sort of just bohemian type journal. But then I discovered I actually love nature, I love shabby chic, I love grungy, I love lace. So the sort of name doesn't really fit anymore with the type of journals I make, because I think I'm a bit more generic now than just bohemian type journal. But the name, obviously I'm stuck with it, and when I wanted it I just wanted to be called Bohemian Rhapsody, but I think there was obviously another Etsy seller with that name, so Etsy just stuck GB on the end, and I thought, why not? I live in Great Britain and I still got the name I want, but on looking back I would have changed it or used something different, but it is what it is. My favourite craft, I've got to say junk journaling. Since I discovered junk journaling, all my spare time is now spent making journals, hunting down stuff. I actually wonder now what I actually did before I made journals, but I'd actually never heard of junk journals until probably about 4 years ago when I lost my mum. Going through my mum's things, I found little bits of papers, cards, postcards, snippets, cuttings, little things my mum had wrote down, and I wanted somewhere to keep them because I didn't want to throw them away because they were quite precious. They obviously meant something to my mum to keep them, and I loved some of the things she'd kept. She'd kept like pressed flowers and things, and I just couldn't part with them. So I went online and I started looking in for I was basically looking for a memory journal or something to keep memories in. And I think the first words I typed in was memory journal, and I think something came up on YouTube, and it was like a junk journal for keeping memories and stuff, and I started hunting around YouTube, and that was it. I was absolutely hooked. I immediately purchased one that I'd seen on YouTube, and I always remember my first one I purchased was from Marie Novak, and that is filled at the moment with memories of my mum and that, and I still love that journal very much. It's quite special to me. So that's really where my love of junk journaling came from. Question number 4, where do you buy your craft stuff? I think like a lot of every other crafters in the UK, Amazon has definitely got to be up there for glues, paper, paper pads, all sorts really, distress inks, and I'm actually a member of Amazon Prime, so if I order something today it'll be here tomorrow, and the thought of having to go out today when it's absolutely bucketing down with rain, if you can hear something in the background, it's banging against my patio, that's probably what you're hearing. I've no need even to go out and get wet. So yeah, Amazon's definitely right up there, and in the UK we haven't got all your fabulous shops that you ladies in the US have, like your Joann's and Michael's, and I must admit I get very envious when I see videos that you've posted of doing a tour around Michael's and all the coupons that you get to use there and the fabulous stamps and everything that you get. Our craft section in the UK is very, very basic and very expensive. So where else do I shop? We have got a range quite nearby me. Once again, it's okay, but you know what you're getting, and there's never nothing to rave about. It's okay for basics. My local works shut down a couple of years back. I did used to like to get stuff from there, books and things, but I live in a town where everything's closing. It seems like we're heading more and more to online shopping, but I guess that's what it is. I think my favourite places has to be antique fairs, flea markets, car boot sales. I love to get pick up a fabulous old book from a charity shop, and it's quite a buzz about getting something new or a nice piece of... I pick up some nice fabric, and I've sort of always hung around the antique markets and antique fairs because my mum used to sell antique jewellery, and I used to go a lot of the times when my mum did antique fairs, and eventually I ended up getting my own stall selling I used to sell antique clothing, and I used to specialise mainly in stuff from the 20s and Victorian clothing. This is when I was way younger. I'm going back 40 years now here probably, when vintage clothing was a lot more easy to get. Like now every man and his dog is selling vintage clothing, and some of the pieces I picked up were lovely. So I've always had a love of old fabric and textiles and things like that, and I used to sell a lot of vintage linen and a lot of Victorian sort of style nightgowns and that sort of stuff, and I've always loved that, and I just wish now I'd kept a lot of the pieces that I'd sold on, but it is what it is. So I'd say really, as everybody else, all of the above. Top 5 crafters on YouTube. Now this is a very, very cruel question and very hard. I'm subscribed to loads of crafters, but if I have to narrow it down 5, and I think you're going to make me, aren't you? And I think of when I first started journaling, one YouTube channel I just binge watched on, and that was Yvonne White, Yvonne Preston. I think it's because Yvonne Crafty White. I'm not sure what the name of the channel, but I will link everyone's channel who I mentioned below. I watched Yvonne's tutorials on how to sew in my signatures and how to make covers from boxes and things, and I was just mesmerised. So I think Marie was one of the first that I watched how to make things. Another of my favourite channels is got to be Artymaze, for all of fabulous tutorials that she puts on, and she's really got me interested in art once again. I've always had a love of art, but it's sort of frightened me because I'm not very good at it, as in, ask me to draw something, you've got nothing down. Ask me to paint, I'm probably not very good. I could sort of splash about a bit, but nothing. But she's taught me now not to be frightened of paint and art, distress inks, and for me, I've always loved photography, and I did a lot of photography when I was younger, and I still love it, but I don't get my camera out as much now because I'm making journals. But to me, that was the way of expressing my art. I could do it by taking a photograph. I could capture something, but I couldn't draw it and put it on paper. So I'm sort of getting over my fear a bit working with paint and gessos and things, and that's thanks to Artymaze. And another YouTuber I love watching is Tina from Hummingbird Tales. I just love the stuff she makes, and I've got several of her journals which I've been very lucky enough to get, and I cherish every one of them. I just love her attention to detail and her artwork. It's just lovely. I also love Janet Hicks, who I think you all know is Andrea's sister. I was gifted a beautiful mermaid journal from Janet, and she's so artistic, and I just love her work. Another crafter I really enjoy is my dear friend Katie from Katieskraftstores. She's pretty new to YouTube. She's not new to making journals, but like me, for a long time she didn't do YouTube. But I have to give a shout out because I love her work. Another person who puts loads of attention into detail, and her journals are huge, and I'm lucky enough to have one. Am I up to 5? I probably am. I feel a bit cheeky, but I'm going to sneak in Carol Laws from Carol Laws Creates. I think that's the name of her channel. I love her work too. And Angela Kerr, I love her work. And while I'm being cheeky and sneaking more vids in, favourite journals in, I've got to say I also love Jibby Neary's work. Absolutely fabulous. So I better stop there because I will be naming half of YouTube. Where am I up to? Number 6. Favourite craft tool. I've got to say my sewing machine. Love my sewing machine. It's been locked in a box for 20 years, and when I started making journals and got into them, it's come out and it's never been put away since, and I'm finally getting use out of it. I think when I bought it, I think I made 4 cushion covers out of it, and then it got locked away for 20 years. So, yep, it's great for me and my sewing machine have made friends again. Where did my love of craft come from? Ooh, I have to say my mum. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'm getting confused here with questions. Where did love of craft come from? When did you start crafting? Right, I sort of incorporate, I think, them two in together. My love of crafting came from my mum. My mum was quite crafty. She was, I think, from that make, do and mend generation. She used to make a lot of my clothes when we were kids. She used to knit our jumpers, and I guess like a lot of people, our things would be patched up. We used to go to school with leather elbows. I know people think, God, how old is this woman? But it's what we did then, I guess. And I also remember my mum would never really encourage us to sit and watch television. We used to get dragged out on, she used to call them nature walks, but we loved them, where we'd go through the woods and we'd gather leaves and flowers to press. And to this day, I still love flower pressing. We'd collect conkers, cones, and then we'd come home, and at this time of year now, we'd start making Christmas decorations and stuff, where we'd spray our pine cones with glitter. We'd make snowmen out of, what are they called? Coffee jars, where we'd cover them with cotton wool. We'd sprinkle them with glitter, make paper mache heads, knit scarves for them. And it was just a fun time, and we used to make our own Christmas cards, because my mum always used to say they were personal. So we'd make them and we'd stick a few bits of glitter on them. We'd cut a Christmas tree out. They were very basic, but they were childlike, and we loved doing them. So I think, and my mum taught me to knit, and she was an embroiderer, and that's why I wanted a journal. I've got a few samples of my mum's work that I'm keeping. So I think I'd say that was where my love of crafting came. And how old was I? I'd say I was about 4 or 5, and my mum would have us out hiking, and she'd point out names of flowers and trees, and she just used to learn a lot, because she had a great interest in outdoors. So I think it all combined, really. My favourite colour, I think I've got some of my questions all wrong way around, but it is what it is. My favourite colours, once again quite difficult, but towards the summer I tend to lean towards blues, teals, aquas. I love the whole spectrum of blue, and I think most of my wardrobe tends to be blue. But in winter I tend to lean more towards purples, browns, russets, them sort of shades, black. That's in my personal clothing wise, but I sort of would say, if you had to pinpoint one, I'd probably say blue. I think how old was I when I started? I think I've mentioned that. I've probably got all my questions all wrong, and I've missed loads out, but I've sort of jotted them down very quick. But that's just a rough thing of my 10 crafty questions. Now I have to nominate 3 ladies. I'd have to say Katie from Katieskraftstores. I'll nominate you. I'll nominate Carol Laws from Carol Laws Creates, and I'm an erring. I'll say Tina from Hummingbird Tales, but I think she's already been nominated, but I'll nominate you again. Alright, thanks everyone for sitting by me while I'm waffling through my crafty questions. Talk to you all soon, bye.